Franco is a Republican strategist, also a former advisor to former Senator John McCain. Adolfo also joins us from the American Capitol. Adolfo, is it going pretty much the way you thought it was going to go? Because, of course, we all know about the analysis of the mail-in ballots taking longer to count, and possibly they may be favoring Joe Biden.
Yes, it's pretty much what certainly I expected, and more importantly than what I expected, what the president and the Republican Party and the campaign expected, which was that the polls, again, were proven wrong. The election isn't over, and there are still, it could go either way. There are a couple of points, though, that I think are important to clarify for your audience. First of all, in the United States, major news networks have already called the Texas race for the president. All of them have. And the Arizona race has been called for Joe Biden, which is significant. And the indications are this evening that at least Georgia will likely be called for President Trump. In all likelihood, this is important for this reason. In all likelihood, this race will be again decided by the three Rust Belt states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, or a combination thereof. So particularly important for the viewers to understand that because of peculiarities in Pennsylvania, that if the president were to win Wisconsin and Michigan, based on what the projections are today by the networks here in the U.S., that he would become president of the United States for a second term. So that is the pathway. The only state that has flipped so far to call it that has been Arizona, which has been called for Vice President Biden, at least in the United States. The other thing, if I could quickly, I really believe your analysts have not given complete information as to what the president means by stealing the election. In Pennsylvania, the state legislature, in our country, state legislatures establish election law. Democrats sued and went to the Democrat-controlled Supreme Court to change Pennsylvania's law. In that law, ballots can be received after the election, and the postmark, where it says when you sent it, if it's unclear, the ballot can still be counted, which means I could send something and rub the stamps off a bit after the election and count it. That would be stealing. That was not the intention of the legislature. That was not even the intention of the Democrat Supreme Court. And that is the specific reference the president is making reference to when he says that the election could be stolen.
Okay, Adolfo, I want to ask you to theorize about a potential win for Donald Trump and a potential loss. Let's start with the win. Everybody's telling us jobs and the economy. Okay, 200,000 plus Americans have died of coronavirus, but that doesn't seem, certainly at the moment, to be affecting necessarily who people will have cast their ballot for. So if it is jobs and the economy, how much is that about what President Trump is doing inside the country, and how much is it about what he's doing outside the country? In other words, these $60-odd billion that he has made for the United States by imposing tariffs on China, and bearing in mind that the large majority of that money he's also already given to American farmers whose products are not being bought by China because of the trade war. So how much is his economic success, which obviously now because of Corona has diminished, how much is that due to what his policies are in the US and how much abroad?
Well, I think it's an excellent question, and I think it's a combination of things. There's no question, broadly speaking, for the American voter, which has traditionally rated the economy the most important thing, and did so in this election. 57% of the American people approved the president's handling of the economy. That was the tip. There's no question. I think the abroad issues, meaning the trade and the tariff issues, were particularly effective tools that he employed in the Midwest of the country, where he said the tariff money was then later returned and given to farmers. That had a major appeal in Iowa, where he shot up 7 points. He was behind in Iowa just 2 weeks ago in the polls, and he won by 7 points. And he's now competitive in a state like Wisconsin. Again, he'd won Wisconsin, but that was the first time a Republican had carried it in 30 years. So I think those policies, the economic policies, were absolutely the president's strong suit. But I also think, and the president made a theme of this, do you want a failed politician with 50 years? He kept saying, why didn't you change these things, Joe? You had 50 years in Washington, 50 years as a senator and as vice president. I'm an outsider. And he said, I've done more in 47 months than you've done in 47 years. I think that's what resonated more with the American people. At the end of the day, The president, although he is the incumbent president, is still perceived by the American people as the outsider against the Washington establishment.
Yeah, absolutely. A very good point. What about if the president were to lose? What will you think you'll be looking back on and saying it was this the main reason why he lost?
Well, I will tell you, if the president does lose the election, the way when you lose an election, you lose an election. You know, I worked for John McCain, and he once told me that he's never been told that a loser ran a brilliant campaign. But if he loses the campaign, the president will be blamed all of it mostly on COVID, the handling of COVID, the virus, the perception that he didn't do enough, or that he wasn't in tune with the American people on the issue. And then the other part, which is the appeal and the lack of appeal of Donald Trump. He will be judged on the style. The way the president conducts himself is appealing to, you see the numbers there, millions of Americans, but it also is not appealing to millions who feel he's not enough of a unifying figure for the country. So those would be the two chief criticisms. They will not be economic issues. They will be the health issues and the president's style.
Adolfo, thank you so much indeed for joining us on TRT World. Really appreciate it. Republican strategist Adolfo Franco.